Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm reviewing Me Time from Netflix. So Me Time is the newest buddy comedy that stars Kevin Hart. This one has Mark Wahlberg in it. I feel like we get one of these movies, it feels like every 6 months now. Some of them are good and some of them are bad, but I hate to say, I think this may have been one of the worst ones so far. So in this film, we see Kevin Hart play a father named Sonny. He's very involved in his children's life. He's like what would you see as like a helicopter parent. He's just completely obsessed with them. Doesn't really have a life outside of that. He's a stay-at-home dad. At the beginning, you find out that he has his friend Huck, who's played by Mark Wahlberg, and he's having these huge, extravagant birthday parties. He's someone who's kind of trying to live the high life, trying to be this popular guy, chasing that kind of almost fame and likability. And then he tries to rope him into his adventures. And basically, he gets caught up into Huck's 44th birthday. Things get a little crazy. There's a side story with his family. And overall, I just think the messaging and the comedy in this one falls a little bit flat. There are a lot of funny people in this movie, not just Kevin Hart. You have Regina Hall, you have Anthony Santino. There's a lot of people that can bring some heavyweight comedy to this. And I'm not going to say there aren't some funny moments, that there were some actually genuinely laugh out loud moments. A lot of it just really misses the mark comedically, at least for me, so I was kind of left disappointed considering all the people involved. Chemistry between Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart, it's okay. It doesn't really jump off the screen. It's not that funny. Obviously, you're playing someone who's a little more like neurotic and doesn't want to go out of their comfort zone. It's just kind of the stay-at-home dad, and you have this kind of over-the-top adventurous character in Mark Wahlberg. And there are some fun situational moments, but I feel like Mark Wahlberg, for the most part in this movie, it feels like he's like kind of just there. Not that he's terrible. He is still likable and charismatic like you expect from Mark Wahlberg, but there's just not a lot below the surface. It feels like the movie wants you to feel a certain way about him, and he's kind of has like a kind of dark side to him in a way, but it never really explores that very in depth. You kind of just feel like he's someone who's chasing something he can't have. But I don't know, I feel like it could have went a little further with that character. Kevin Hart, he's always really funny and likable, and you just kind of root for his characters. This isn't an exception to that, but I feel like everything else around it, it just feels like he's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. As far as the plot goes, it's very simplistic. It's a lot of goofs and gags. There's not a lot of complexity to the story. I feel like the pacing of it isn't fantastic. It's kind of just one little event in a different place after another. It's not a really in-depth, cohesive story. You're not really expecting that from kind of this buddy comedy from Netflix, but I don't know. I was just a little disappointed. I feel like it could have been funnier, and if it wasn't funnier, it could have a little more heart, a little more punch to it. It's just a really consumable, basic comedy. One of the things I thought was actually pretty funny is there's a cameo from Seal in this. They don't really build that up a lot. I feel like it would have been funny if they built that up from the beginning of the movie. It kind of been like this really goofy moment. It was still enjoyable, funny. Like, I didn't expect Seal to be in a movie. I would have loved if he would have sang Kiss from a Rose, because, I mean, everybody loves that. So you get a little different take from him. But I don't know. It was strange, the whole structure of the movie, the comedy. Like I said, few moments were laugh out loud, but not overall a hilarious movie. And it kind of lacked the heart that you've seen from some Kevin Hart movies. As far as the messaging goes, you see that kind of the story at the end of the day is kind of being true to yourself, following your dreams, following your passion, accepting maybe who you are, not trying to be what other people expect you to be. That gets lost a little bit. It kind of bounces back and forth. Like I said, the structure of the movie, the overall pacing isn't fantastic, so that overall messaging kind of falls flat, and they kind of rush it at the very end. The ending is also pretty abrupt. It's pretty silly and goofy. It doesn't feel like a big, happy, tied-up bow ending like you would expect. Another thing that's not great with this movie, and I said it in my last review when I reviewed Man from Toronto, when it's these kind of buddy comedies that Netflix puts out, it just doesn't look good. I feel like the CGI they try to pull off, especially it starts with this wingsuit scene where Kevin Hart's being pushed out of his comfort zone and trying to understand the dynamic between him and Mark Wahlberg's character, and it looks really bad. It looks like really bad green screen right off the bat in your face. I don't think we needed to start with that. There's also some scenes involving animals that are CGI that just look silly. It's just almost, that's funnier that it looks so bad than what's actually happening. Like, there's a moment where Kevin Hart, not to go into my spoilers, is fighting a mountain lion. And I just was, the whole time I'm watching this, it looks so ridiculous that it's kind of funny just because of how it's made, not actually the content that's on the screen. So that's not a great thing to have really bad CGI in a film. Not expecting a lot of comedy. I don't expect it to be some big blockbuster movie with great visual effects, but it's distracting when it's that bad. So overall, if I were to rate Me Time, I will give it a 2 out of 10. I know it's a harsh score. It's a movie that I guess if you enjoy these buddy comedy movies from Kevin Hart, maybe you'll like it. For me, I'm not a huge fan of this kind of subgenre that exists, but I have seen some that I really enjoyed. I thought Man from Toronto was better than I thought it was going to be, and this one was actually substantially worse than I thought it was going to be. I feel like there was a lot they could have maybe done with this movie, but it feels like a movie that's just put together to, check some boxes, have this consumable comedy out there for people to enjoy. And it just, for me, it fell really flat. So if you checked out Me Time, let me know what you thought about it. Did you enjoy it? Because I always love to hear differing opinions. If you really liked this movie, I would love to know what you liked about it. Maybe you're a big fan of Kevin Hart in this kind of genre. For me, like I said, it wasn't great, but I'd love to hear those comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.